okay?
Okay, so heel to heel in my heels.
Or is that your
toe to toe. Please do not. What are you doing? I'm local.
Stop resisting.
Hold on. This is not okay. No.
It rarely takes much to draw an officer's eye at night, a set of headlights winking on and off. A stop made a little too sharply. Those were the small signals that pulled a Mountain Home, Arkansas officer toward a car one evening. And on their own, they promised nothing more than a brief conversation and, at most, a citation. The driver behind the wheel would be identified only as Megan. Over the next several minutes, the encounter she was part of would travel a long way from that modest beginning through friction, through a failed attempt to reset, through a taser, and finally into felony territory. None of it was inevitable at the outset. This is a study in escalation, how a stop with a simple, low-stakes exit ramp can instead climb, decision by decision, into a stack of serious charges. And woven through it is a second danger the deputies never anticipated, one sitting quietly in the passenger seat the entire time. Approaching the window, the officer greeted her evenly and asked about the headlights she'd been struggling to keep on. He requested the standard trio license, registration, insurance, and, as officers do, tried to establish the basics of the night, where she was headed, where she'd come from. There was a reason behind the questions beyond mere curiosity, and he named it plainly. A sweet odor drifted from her breath. The lights had flicked on and off. The stop had been abrupt, individually minor. Together, those observations formed the outline officers are trained to recognize as possible impairment. Asking where she'd been drinking, or coming from, was simply the fastest way to confirm or dispel that suspicion. Her answers, though, arrived wrapped in resistance.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Are you having some trouble with your lights?
Well, I was trying to figure out how to turn them on. Actually, yes.
Yes? Okay, because I noticed they were going off and on, off and on. Do you have your license, registration, insurance?
Here's my license. Do you need my insurance?
Yes, ma'am, and your registration. Where are you guys heading?
Home.
Home? Where you come from?
Registration, insurance, I'm pretty sure you can look up.
Okay.
Okay.
Where you guys come from?
We're local. We're going home.
Yeah, but from where?
What do you mean? What is that information? You have my license and registration.
There's no reason
what
to
else
get
do you
mad at
need?
me. I'm just asking.
Okay. We'll go search that.
Hey, stop.
License and registration.
Stop
is
right
what
now.
you need.
Okay? I'm asking because I smell something sweet coming from your breath. Okay? You're turning off and on your lights. You made a dramatic stop. Okay? You're showing signs of impairment. If you want to continue down this, I'm trying to just rule that out to do voluntary road signs for me.
I honestly am just trying to go home.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah, okay. Whatever you need.
Okay, go ahead and step out then. We're gonna step over here. I'm gonna close your door because I don't want it to get sideswiped and damaged, okay?
Sideswiped and damaged from
there's a traffic
okay.
sign right here. Okay, so I'm gonna have you step over here out of the roadway so that you're safe as well, okay?
She'd handed over her documents. In her view, that settled it, and the destination was none of his business. What might have been a 30-second exchange began, instead, to harden into a standoff over a question that a cooperative driver would have answered without a second thought. The temperature climbed from there. She accused the officers of harassment, insisted there was no reason for the questions, and reached repeatedly for a refrain that would echo through the rest of the night that she was a local, a taxpayer, and therefore, in her mind, owed a different kind of treatment. At one point, she stated flatly that she didn't like police.
So if you would, just go ahead and step over here for me.
What do you need?
I'm gonna have you step over here so we're out of the roadway because I
was just in the roadway and I stepped
out of the roadway.
Okay.
Over here, where my light is.
Oh, whoa, woohoo. Do you need me to step on the...
Okay, all right, Megan.
Come on.
You got anything?
You guys crazy.
Hey.
You're literally assaulting a fucking local individual when I'm just trying to go home. And you all are horrible Mountain Home police officers. What's your name? Let me see your ID. I want your card right now.
I'm Corporal Steele.
What are you?
I'm Corporal Steele.
And what's your badge number?
1761.
1761? What's yours?
Officer Wright, 1764.
17. I need to write this down.
Okay. Are you going to do these road signs or not for me?
You know what? What do you need? I'm in heels.
Okay. We'll take that into consideration.
Great.
Okay. What I need from you right now is to go ahead and stand heel to heel, toe to toe with your hands by your side. Okay?
Okay, so heel to heel in my heels.
Or is that your
toe
side?
to toe.
Okay. I want you to remain in that position until I instruct you to do otherwise. Do you understand? Do you understand? Do you understand?
Am I instructed to do anything different?
Stay there until I tell you to. Do you understand?
Am I already doing that?
I'm asking you if you
Oh,
understand.
wait. Hold on, officer.
I'm asking if you understand.
Hey, guess what? I don't like cops.
That's okay.
So you know what? I'm going to sit here and...
It's worth being fair about this stretch, because it's easy to caricature. Plenty of people get nervous or indignant during a stop, and irritation alone is not a crime. An officer can't arrest someone for a bad mood or a sharp tongue. What the footage captures is not yet an offense, it's a driver choosing confrontation over the simplest path through an ordinary encounter. But irritation has a way of narrowing a situation. The more energy she poured into arguing, the less room remained for the easy resolution still sitting right in front of her. And the officer, rather than matching her heat, tried something that doesn't always happen on these videos. He attempted to hand her a clean slate. Instead of escalating, the officer paused the whole exchange and proposed a do-over. "Let's try this again," he suggested, with a little more courtesy on both ends, acknowledging, notably, that he too had gotten short with her. It was a small, human gesture, an off-ramp offered in plain language. That moment deserves attention because it complicates the easy story. This was not an officer itching for a fight or hunting for charges. He named his own part in the friction and invited her to lower the tension with him. For a beat, it even seemed to work, she agreed. The volume dropped, and the stop nudged back toward normal. Everything that followed unfolded after that reset was offered. Whatever happened next cannot be blamed on an officer who refused to give an inch, because he plainly did give one. The path back to a simple citation was reopened and held out to her in that exchange. The question was only whether she would take it. Following the reset, she consented to voluntary roadside exercises. To run them safely, the officer asked her to move from the edge of the traffic lane into a nearby parking lot, a routine precaution, meant as much for her protection as anyone's, since standing an impaired person beside moving cars is a hazard in itself. The relocation is where the fragile calm collapsed. Rather than follow the simple instruction to step clear of the road, she read the request as aggression, began shouting that the officers were assaulting her, and demanded names and badge numbers. Corporal Steele and his partner identified themselves without hesitation. It changed nothing. With her showing signs of impairment and now refusing to cooperate with the very tests she'd agreed to, the officer made the call the situation had been drifting toward. She was placed under arrest on suspicion of driving while intoxicated. Up to this instant, the charges on the table were manageable ones.
Do you understand?
Am I already doing that?
I'm asking you if you
Oh,
understand.
wait. Hold on, officer.
I'm asking if you understand.
Hey, guess what? I don't like cops.
That's okay.
So you know what? I'm going to sit here and honestly stand here.
Megan, you're under arrest for suspicion of driving while intoxicated.
I am absolutely fine.
Stop
Please do
resisting.
not.
Stop
What are you
resisting.
doing? I'm local.
Stop resisting.
Hold on.
I
This
said you're
is
under arrest.
not okay. No, I'm not. I'm intoxicated.
In the seconds that came next, that would change dramatically. The arrest did not go quietly. As the officers moved to secure her, she pulled away and fought, and the scene turned physical fast. A taser was deployed twice, and, strikingly, it seemed to have almost no effect on her. She asked, almost casually, why she was being tased even as the struggle continued.
Get on the ground.
Are insane.
I'll just taser.
I'm standing here.
You're about to get tased if you don't stop.
I
You're about to get tased if you don't stop. Put your hands behind your back or you're getting tased. Do you understand?
Oh, I am doing exactly. Are you serious right now?
22 taser deployed.
Eventually, the officers brought her to the ground and got the handcuffs on. One detail from that scuffle carried outsized weight. While she was down, according to the officers, she kicked one of them. That single act is what lifted the night out of ordinary DWI territory and into felony territory, because striking an officer is charged as battery here, second-degree battery on a law enforcement officer. There's a physiological footnote worth mentioning, because it surprises people. A taser doesn't always work. Its effectiveness depends on where the probes land and how they spread across the body. And on a person flooded with adrenaline or alcohol, the jolt can register as little more than a bad shock, rather than the full incapacitation it's designed to cause. That's part of why the officers had to resort to hands-on control anyway, and part of why fighting an arrest is so dangerous for everyone involved.
Why are you tasing me? You crazy man. Why are you tasing me?
You're resisting.
I am not. I am
Henry, there
not
is a passenger
resisting, you
passed out in that
psychos.
Hi. How are you?
Good, Harry.
Good.
You guys are aggressive.
Stop resisting.
Oh, guess what? I'm not resisting. I'm not even resisting.
You're a hammer.
The tools meant to end a struggle quickly don't always cooperate. Trace the arc, and the lesson writes itself. The impaired driving was one problem. The refusal was another. But the kick the choice, mid-struggle, to lash out at the person arresting her is what stacked a felony on top of everything else. Compliance, even reluctant compliance, would have kept this a citation and booking evening. Resistance multiplied it.
What the f is going on?
I just told you, you're under arrest.
You guys are absolutely
impaired.
insane. You had 12 cops.
All right,
here?
Megan. You got anything on you? It's gonna poke, stick, or stab me. Okay.
You guys are insane.
All right.
Mountain Home, huh? Mountain Home. Guys, I'm a f***ing awesome.
Throughout the chaos, a second woman sat in the passenger seat, and remarkably, she appeared to have slept through nearly all of it. When the officers spoke with her afterward, she seemed genuinely unaware that her friend had just fought 4 officers and been tased and tackled feet away.
Why's your friend so fired up?
2215
You know, what do you mean? You didn't see her fighting with 4 officers? You didn't notice that? Yeah, she just got tased and tackled in the parking lot. You missed all that? Are you all headed home or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her blank confusion is almost hard to believe. Yet that obliviousness may have been a quiet blessing. Because of what she was carrying, a loaded firearm sat inside her purse. Consider how narrowly that detail avoided catastrophe. Had the passenger been awake, alarmed, and inclined to intervene on her friend's behalf, a chaotic arrest could have turned into an armed confrontation in an instant.
Do you have somebody that is able to come pick you up?
Yes.
Okay. How far is home? I'm sorry?
Road.
You're at 62 in Commerce Drive, so by Pizza Hut. You have your ID?
You need my concealed?
No, just need that. You don't have a firearm on you at this time?
Yes.
Is it in your purse?
Yes.
Okay, just leave it in your purse, all right? Just leave it in the purse and I'm happy.
Okay.
If you got somebody that can pick you up, if you want to call them
sure
and get
can.
them headed.
2 women, a gun, an impaired driver, and a violent struggle, the ingredients of a tragedy, were all present. Only luck kept them from combining. The officers, once aware of the weapon, handled it carefully, instructing the passenger to leave it untouched in her bag. It's the kind of moment that never makes the highlight reel, but it underscores why officers approach these stops with such caution. The danger is often the thing you can't see asleep in the next seat, zipped inside a purse.
Where's your gun at in the purse?
It's in my purse.
All right, well, so we're gonna stop. I don't want you to keep reaching in the purse when there's a gun in there.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you need to call somebody to come get you.
Do you have a phone?
I'm gonna go get
It is not in here. In my purse.
Your phone is not in your purse?
So I thought she grabbed it. It is not.
You can't find her phone.
She just had it in her hand.
That wasn't hers.
Oh, it wasn't hers?
I told her to keep. She kept reaching in her purse. Told her to quit reaching.
So somebody's fault you're one.
Right there. Right there, right
Oh, God, here it is.
At the jail, the pattern held. She declined the breath test, asked for an attorney, and remained combative sparring with a female officer she deemed disrespectful, circling back again and again to her status as a local and a taxpayer, as if that were a shield the law recognized. Somewhere in it came a genuinely sad note, a mention of her 3-year-old, who was, at least, safe at home in her husband's care, and never anywhere near the danger of that night. When the paperwork was tallied, the charges reflected everything the evening had become: driving while intoxicated, a first offense, second-degree battery on an officer, resisting arrest, refusal to submit to the breath test, and the original headlight violation that started it all. Her bond was set at $5,000. And as with every case, the presumption of innocence applies. None of it stands proven until a court says so. Strip it down, and the story is almost entirely about choices made after the stop, not before it. A flickering headlight and a whiff of alcohol were a small problem with a small solution. What turned a routine night into a felony wasn't the drinking alone, it was the decision, offered a reset and refusing it, to fight instead of comply. Being a local, paying your taxes, disliking the police, none of it alters the arithmetic. The badge doesn't bend to attitude. It only records it.